Today's video, we're going to be talking about a once covert operation led by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which was codenamed Able Danger. It was an important operation which collected metadata involving two primary terrorist cells inside the United States, which went largely ignored or dismissed altogether. The construction of this operation was led by General Peter Schoomaker, who was the one-time Chief of Staff of the Army, and General Hugh Shelton, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This was a highly covert operation, and it was an offshoot to the CIA's meta-intelligence operation led under the Bin Laden Issue Station, or codenamed Alex Station, led by its head chief, Michael Scheuer. The CIA created that in 1996. So the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon CIA, and a much bigger organization, finalized in the summer of 1999 the covert operation, which would have people from the U.S Special Operations Command, or SOCOM, and the Land Information Warfare Center, or LIWA for short, which supported the Intelligence and Security Command of the U.S Army. Now, Able Danger itself was devised as an operation which was to develop sensitive information in the transnational terrorism field, which involved the Joint Special Operations Command and the Defense Intelligence Agency. The information didn't come from government databases, nor was the information classified. Instead, it was an open source collection database, but the operation was secret. Schoomaker, a little bit about his background was that he was a visionary in the field of counterterrorism, and took serious about the emerging threat of al-Qaeda, which was the terrorist cell led under Osama bin Laden. And he was one of the military's top thinkers, and he was an excellent strategist. And so he himself also worked for signals intelligence. Meanwhile, Shelton himself would lead the United States Special Operations Command in the Able Danger operation. And so they selected 5 people to be in charge or to be involved in the Able Danger program. And they are Able Danger team leader, Navy Captain Scott Philpott, U.S Army Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Eric Kleinsmith, the Army Major and the Chief of Intelligence of the Land Information Warfare Agency, James D. Smith, a defense contractor from Orion Scientific Systems, and Dr. Eileen Pricer, who is from the Land Information Warfare Activity and would be the analytical lead of the group. Schaffer would entertain CIA representatives from Alex Station at SOCOM headquarters from time to time. They would meet at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where incidentally, another individual who would have profound implications regarding much of the intelligence for SOCOM and for Able Danger was Triple Agent Ali Muhammad. Ali Muhammad was a former Green Bay officer, as well as being a al-Qaeda affiliate, not just to Osama bin Laden and Ayman al-Zawahiri, the second in command, but also to the primary emir of the Brooklyn Cell, which was involved with the Landmarks plot and contacts with, uh, and also affiliated with the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, Omar Abdel Rahman of the terrorist organization Gamma Islamiyah. Um, Schaffer would recall that the response, which was later repeated in his sworn testimony in 2005 before uh, the Senate Select Committee, and I'll quote, I clearly understand the difference. I clearly understand this. Now, this is. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this before. This is where we're having a meeting with the CIA's representatives from Alex Station at Fort Bragg, and so this is the unnamed CIA associate uh, responding to Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaffer's Able Danger program. Okay, quote, I clearly understand the difference, the CIA rep told him. I clearly understand. We're going after the leadership. You guys are going after the body, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is CIA will never give you the best information from Alex Base or anywhere else. CIA will never provide that to you because if you were successful in your effort to target Al Qaeda, you will steal our thunder. Therefore, we will not support this. End quote. Now, already you see infighting, and this is before Able Danger began starting. This is the Defense Intelligence Agency was actually inviting the CIA to a meeting to try and coordinate maybe operations and information sharing. The CIA is notoriously greedy, or as they say, information hoarders. Um, and they never shared their information with the FBI, much less the Defense Intelligence Agency. And the NSA never shared information with the CIA, and it just goes round and round and round. None of these agencies really basically shared information with each other, unless it was they had to, no matter what. Um, however, Schaffer explained that during that meeting that the data mining software would be provided by private contractors, um, which included Raytheon and Orion Scientific, that helped execute the sophisticated data mining software packages, which is going to be needed to collect the data regarding these terrorist cells inside the United States. And Schaffer himself was an obvious choice to become part of the Able Danger program. Um, a little bit about Schaffer. He had previously deployed to Germany to conduct counterterrorism operations in 1985 as part of the operation called Reforger, and worked in New York City as part of the U.S. Army's anti-terrorism efforts during Oak Sale in 1986 and the reopening of the Statue of Liberty. He also worked to monitor Soviet military officers um, visiting the United States during the INF Treaty missile elimination, and as well as being a reservist with the U.S. Army Foreign Intelligence Activity, or FCA. And on top of that, Schaffer would also do a 5-month tour as a Defense Intelligence Agency officer in 2003 in Afghanistan. And he also directed several key operational intelligence organizations in Bagram, Afghanistan. Um, Now, one of those units in his intelligence operations in Afghanistan was um, a special mission task force codenamed Stratus Ivy. Stratus Ivy, which conducted direct support to the Department of Defense, which would be SOCOM, Joint Special Operations Command, U.S. Army. And they focused on offensive information operations. And during Schaffer's successful undercover combat tours, he participated in search uh, for top Al Qaeda leadership in Afghanistan under this uh, uh, task force Stratus Ivy. Um, and this agency was led by Defense Intelligence Agency Lieutenant General Pat Hughes. And Pat Hughes actually allowed Schaffer and his Stratus Ivy unit to take charge on their creative ideas, which would develop them into realistic intelligence operations. So here we have his commanding officer, Pat Hughes, allowing Schaffer and the Stratus Ivy unit to be involved with the Able Danger program, only because of their past success regarding um, their offensive information operations. Um, Hughes would become the ardent believer. This is the reason why he allowed Stratus Ivy to come to be a part of the Able Danger program. He actually became an ardent believer into the unit's mission, which was to use cutting edge ideas into black operations. And Stratus Ivy would provide both concierge and operational support to the Able Danger mission. And by the way, this is all classified still to this day, and that's 21 years ago. Which is the reason why you don't hear much about Able Danger anymore. The last time we heard about Able Danger was when Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaffer released a book, Operation Dark Heart, which at first had to be redacted because SOCOM lawyers, Special Operation Command lawyers, wouldn't allow certain information to be public. And they burned, and the Pentagon actually burned, I think, I may get the number close to, I think they bought the first 500 copies and burned them, and destroyed them. But you can still get a copy, and I will link it to the bottom of the description box. It's a great book. I really found the book to be really useful. It was a very illuminating book regarding Schaffer's background and his experiences pre and post Able Danger. It was a great book. I suggest getting it. And going back into Schaffer and the formation of Able Danger. So, according to Schaffer's own testimony later on, and also to his experiences regarding the years 1999 to 2001, they, using the data mining program led by Liwa, members involved with the Able Danger managed to identify two Al Qaeda cells inside the United States. The two cells included the blind Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman, led by Gamma Islamiyah, and Mohammed Atta, and that's the Hamburg Cell, Ziad Jarrah, Marwan al-Shehhi, Hani Hanjour. Hani Hanjour actually would move out west, so he participated in the East Coast with Atta, as well as Khalid al-Midar, Nawaf al-Hazmi out west, because Hanjour actually was the most experienced in terms of piloting planes. He trained for years and years and years. Even went to the University of Arizona in 1992 to study engineering. So he was the first 9/11 hijacker, alleged hijacker, to be inside the United States. The LIWA program, Land Information Warfare Agency program, used data mining techniques to link open source information along with classified information while attempting to make a connection among individuals who were members of terrorist organizations to go along with human intelligence from the public square, like Arab businesses, storefronts, which were nearby known terrorist cities inside the United States, as well as abroad. So all the information that they have, most of it anyway, most of the information was open source information. It wasn't even classified. Um, mass amounts of data was collected, which included personal data of coming from Al Qaeda internet forums, chat rooms, as well as financial records, phone calls. This is just, by the way, there's two agencies involved with data collecting: the NSA, which was at the Yemen hub, and they've been there since 1996 to 2002. You had the CIA's Bin Laden Issue Station, which was a virtual station in Maryland, which was collecting human intelligence and signals intelligence. By the way, the NSA was collecting signals intelligence. CIA was collecting human and signals intelligence, partially signals intelligence, regarding the Yemen hub, which was a Al Qaeda communications hub located in Sana'a, Yemen. The owner of the house, Ahmed al-Hatta, was a close associate of Osama bin Laden, who also shared a room with Khalid al-Midar, who was his son-in-law, who was married to Ahmed al-Hatta's daughter, Hodor al-Hatta. And then you have the Defense Intelligence Agency's Able Danger Program, which was signals intelligence. And that was open source, by the way. NSA classified information. CIA was classified. Even though this was a classified operation, Able Danger, they used information which was open source, public. I just wanted to make that clear to you. Okay, so in December of 1999, Anthony Shaffer and Able Danger team announced that Al Qaeda had a presence inside the United States to Peter Schoomaker and General Hugh Shelton, and that its infrastructure is much more broader than originally ascertained by previous intelligence, coming from the FBI, the CIA, but the CIA basically, I think they knew that Al Qaeda was a much broader operation, even though they claim in the 9/11 Commission testimony that they were overwhelmed with information. Same excuse for the NSA. They couldn't read the metadata; it was so overwhelming. They had enough people to read this information, and they knew that Al Qaeda was an extensive operation, extensive terrorist cell inside the United States. They also managed to create a chart. This chart actually came from Orion Systems that I talked about earlier. And the chart showed all these names of people involved with Al Qaeda and their connections all around the world. It was an amazing chart. And by February of 2000, Captain Scott Philpott organized a high-level meeting with Schoomaker and Shelton, General Schoomaker and General Shelton, about the production of the Able Danger operation so far. And so this was their first report. And so he showed them the chart, which was made by Orion Systems, produced by Orion Systems using Land Information Warfare Agency's intelligence. And SOCOM lawyers would review the data as well, whether the data could be made, whether it was legitimate to be used, because there are restrictions. And I'll get into that in a little bit, which was really important because this is what shut down the operation itself. I might as well just tell you now, because it's so important. All the information relating to Mohammed Atta and the other terrorists that were identified by the Able Danger team as working and living inside the United States, or having connections to U.S. people or U.S. persons, they had become identified as being off limits. Now, SOCOM lawyers are saying that Mohammed Atta, Marwan al-Shehhi, Ziad Jarrah, Hani Anjur are U.S. persons because they had temporary U.S. visas, which means that they're American citizens. This is what SOCOM lawyers are stating. And according to personal testimony by Scott Philpott, before the Senate Select Committee in 2005, Philpott said that SOCOM lawyers have restricted Able Danger from review use or exploitation of the information collected by the team due to the U.S. Persons Policy in the planning effort. In other words, that the data, the mass amounts of data they collected, which is approximately 3.5 gigabytes of data, I'm sorry, terabytes of data, an enormous amounts of data, files and documents and photographs, um, now had to have been, now had, could not be used and had a time limit. And that time limit is that information regarding the U.S. Persons Policy was 30 days. And so by March of 2000, the operation had to become, it came under harsh critique from competing entities, not just from Anthony Shaffer and and the CIA's Alex station, but also from SOCOM lawyers. So now Shaffer and Philpott and Kleinsman and everybody else in the Able Danger program was now feeling pressure, especially Anthony Shaffer, because he was chosen to be the primary face of the group, even though Eric Kleinsman was the leader of collecting the data. Shaffer actually was the more pronounced. He was actually the most experienced regarding covert operations. And Shaffer, being pressured by his own agency in regards to Able Danger. And so Shaffer had met with, by March of 2000, he met with Jerry Clark. And Jerry Clark is the senior executive service of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And Clark asks Shaffer about what has been happening with Able Danger and the data mining program thus far. And Shaffer briefs him openly about the operation itself. And this is the first time that Shaffer actually explained the covert operation to anyone else other than Schoomaker and Shelton. Okay. Very few people in the world knew about this program. It was very covert. So Clark himself became surprised at the amount of data that was collected by the Land Information Warfare Agency and Able Danger program. And he was impressed with it. So when SOCOM officers who were in the meeting left the room, Clark basically gave some guidance to members of the Defense Intelligence Office. And Clark gave his attention to the Defense Intelligence Agency's senior executive in charge of the information technology used in the LEWA program, in the LEWA Able Danger program, in which he told them to slow down the process of providing both infrastructure, which are data pipes online, and the data to the SOCOM effort. And Clark himself was basically warning Shaffer, warning the Able Danger team, warning Defense Intelligence Agency that the Able Danger program was starting to become known to competing agencies and saw them as a threat. And not only that, SOCOM lawyers was pressuring Able Danger about the use of the information because they're protected under the U.S. Private Persons Policy. And so now Shaffer saw the writing on the wall. Okay, so the Defense Intelligence Agency and his own military unit, which helped him obtain the spot in Able Danger, was now becoming uncooperative and did not want to share or provide any support to the program. But Shaffer would even come out later and said that he was naive, that he believed that the Pentagon, that the U.S. Army would not abandon him or the operation itself. He saw it as useful, productive, and it was. It basically uncovered two major cells inside the United States, and they were huge. And the revelation and the information that they uncovered was enormous, and it could have been used to at least try to interfere with the 9/11 operation at least partially. And Thomas Drake, a former senior executive in the NSA, would also come out later and say, yes, the NSA had enough metadata on most of the hijackers that could have stopped part of 9/11. Well, guess what? Alex Station of the CIA, they had information regarding Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi inside the United States. They could have stopped at least Flight 77 crashing into the Pentagon if they just warned the FBI about these two guys and monitored them right away. They didn't. As you can see, all three of these operations were basically interfered with, or basically didn't share information with domesticated agencies inside the United States, which could have prevented the attacks. And this leads to, I can't blame here, this leads to conspiracy theorists about a vast network of maybe Illuminati or the State Department, whatever. Everybody was in on it, or most people. I don't think that's the case. There could be a very good argument. I can make a good argument that certain people within these agencies maybe wanted these attacks to happen if they had foreknowledge about the intricate details of the attacks, which we won't know. I mean, that could have been talked about by phone because all the signals intelligence is classified. Who knows what they were talking about on the Yemen hub? That's 5 years before 9/11. 5 years. Who knows what Al-Qaeda? And they were monitoring those phone calls, incoming, receiving every day. It's all classified. I'm guessing it's all classified. It's never made public. And all the information that Able Danger was able to uncover could have been shared with the FBI or the State Department. Instead, the opposite happened. Major Eric Kleinsmith, the leader of the Able Danger and the chief of intelligence of the Land Information Warfare Agency, is ordered in 2000 to destroy data and documents related to a military intelligence program, Able Danger. All the data. 3.5 terabytes of information, which identified Mohammed Atta and the Hamburg Cell, and Omar Abdel Rahman and the Gamma Islamiyah. Years prior. This is information uncovered years prior. By April of 2000, that data was destroyed. An immense amount of data for analysis that allowed them to map connections of Al-Qaeda operatives here inside the United States as well as abroad. It was a worldwide threat, and they destroyed everything. They were ordered to destroy on the premise of a falsehood. SOCOM lawyers, U.S. SOCOM lawyers, ordered Kleinsmith to destroy that data because they said it exceeded the 30-day allowance because they were covered under the U.S. Persons Privacy Policy. The pressure from the U.S. Army to pull out. I'm sorry, I have to back up here. They had to pull out due to the legal ramifications of monitoring U.S. persons in May of 2000. The Able Danger program was no more. General Schoomaker sent an email to Eric Shinsky, the chief of staff of the U.S. Army, and assured him of the benefits for sticking with the program. Now Schoomaker himself was a top general, basically knew, because he saw the information provided by Able Danger and said this is a huge mistake. But the data was destroyed immediately after. Because Shinsky actually ignored Schoomaker. Leading the charge to shut down all assistance to Able Danger was Tom Taylor, head of the U.S. Army Lawyers Committee. And the signal was announced that the U.S. Army would no longer aid Schaffer and the Able Danger program due to legal ramifications of monitoring terror suspects, as they were legally declared U.S. persons by SOCOM lawyers. This was a devastating decision by the U.S. Army at this point. I really, when I read about the story, I'm flabbergasted that they allowed a covert operation which uncovered mass amounts of data, which was on the public square, wasn't even classified. So what was the reason behind this? Because it violated the U.S. Persons Policies Act, which I'm going to get in a little bit. This is going to be a little bit of a long video because I want to explain to you the intricate details of this operation. It's so important, and because nobody really talks about it. And it is important in regards to 9/11 itself. Now, Captain Scott Philpott briefs Peter Schoomaker and that Able Danger had once uncovered information regarding al-Qaeda activity in the port of Aden, the Aden harbor in Yemen, which was huge because John O'Neill, the head of the I-49 unit, which was the counterterrorism unit in New York City, was basically subjugated by the U.S. Yemen ambassador, Barbara Bodine, because Bodine didn't like his attitude and kicked him out of the country. And so Ali Soufan, who was an associate in FBI counterterrorism unit, stood behind, and he's a great agent. Schaffer recalled that Yemen was elevated by Able Danger to be one of the top 3 hotspots for al-Qaeda in the entire world. Contacts with allegedly one of the top members of al-Qaeda, Abu Zubaydah, and also associates in Yemen, which had some affiliations with the 2000 Millennium Plot, which was a terrorist plot involving terrorism activities in Jordan and inside the United States. And so the warning that Scott Philpott briefs Schoomaker was possibly yet another warning from the defense intelligence analyst Kai Fallis, K-I-E, first name, Kai Fallis. And so the pressure from the Defense Intelligence Agency and the lawyers from SOCOM was basically just interfering with anything relating to the Able Danger team and to separate operations. And by November of 2000, Able Danger operations would cease data collection. And so whatever data that they had collected, they were ordered to destroy that as well. Regarding just with the Hamburg Cell. I want to separate that too. Any data that they collected regarding the Hamburg Cell of Mohammed Atta, al-Shehhi, Ziad Jarrah inside the United States and Hani Anjur was ordered destroyed because they were considered U.S. persons by SOCOM lawyers. Data regarding, say, what I just before about the al-Qaeda cell in Yemen, they were allowed to collect because they're not considered U.S. persons. So, but SOCOM lawyers are still trying to interfere with these individuals from Able Danger, pressuring them to shut down, basically. You can come right out and say it, but basically pressuring the operation to be shut down. Now, where is that pressure coming from? Is it coming from the U.S. Army, the Pentagon, the CIA, the NSA? We can only go back as far as people are being affiliated with the U.S. Army, which later it would be found out that Schaffer himself left for Afghanistan, Bagram, since the Able Danger program is no more. After the attacks of September 11, 2001, just just weeks after, the 9/11 Commission's own director, Philip Zelikow, goes to Afghanistan at the Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan to interview Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer. And Shaffer tells Zelikow everything about Able Danger, making him the second person to know about Able Danger outside of the Able Danger program and the Defense Intelligence Agency. And so Zelikow, floored by the information, gives Shaffer his card. Okay? He gives him his card, says, I need you to come back to the United States and we need to interview you again. Okay? So after a while, Shaffer tries to contact Zelikow for a second interview or to give testimony to the 9/11 Commission. And he's ignored, by the way. He's ignored. But because he gave Zelikow information about the Able Danger program, which didn't involve SOCOM lawyers to be present, Shaffer, upon his return to the United States on March 23rd, 2004, had his top secret SCI clearance suspended. And Shaffer goes straight to the Defense Intelligence Agency office where he hold a meeting with U.S Army brass as well as SOCOM lawyers, where he would tell Mike Kingsley, the Defense Intelligence Inspector General, that he had significant allegations against him, which required Shaffer's security clearance to be suspended. Now, where did they get that allegations from? Why automatically did they label Shaffer a threat? Because he told Philip Zelikow the truth about the operation? That they were ordered to destroy the information regarding Able Danger? And so Shaffer was ordered to be transferred to the headquarters company, the HHC in Fort Myer, Virginia, for the reminder of his active duty period, which was June 1st, 2004. So his security clearance is suspended, even after his term is done at the U.S. Army. And he was given an honorable discharge and given a civilian GS-14 status regarding the Defense Intelligence Agency. The Defense Intelligence Agency, meanwhile, didn't invoke Shaffer's security clearance, to which it continued to remain in suspension. So, in other words, he's being placed on administrative leave and he's being suspended. He's not being fired. Because if he's fired or if he's terminated, he can actually go to the media. He can actually give testimony at a Senate Select Committee. Okay? They didn't want to do that because they knew that there would be a committee to investigate Able Danger at some point in the future. And guess what? It did. On August 14, 2005, a phone call is made to Congressman Kurt Weldon of Pennsylvania by Anthony Shaffer. But Shaffer didn't tell him his name. And he told him about the Able Danger program. He told about how it uncovered 2 terrorist cells inside the United States. Weldon actually would receive more calls from this anonymous caller in the days and weeks prior. But he had to be very covert because he's still under suspension by the Defense Intelligence Agency. And because he was under suspension, he couldn't come right out and because it's classified information, Able Danger. Still classified. But he wanted to meet Weldon, and he met with Weldon, and he told him everything about Able Danger as well. Weldon is floored by the information. Floored. And so he calls the 9/11 Commission and got a hold with a staffer, Chris Kojum. And I'm going to quote you the dialogue. And so, by the way, it's not Kurt Welding talking to Chris Kojum. Kurt Welding, his own chief of his staff chief of the Congressman Weld's staff chief, his name is Russ Casso. And so Russ Casso got in touch with Chris Kojum. Russo, Chris, are you aware of a covert military operation called Able Danger? Kojum, yes, we have heard of it. Russo, why have you guys not put it in the 9/11 Commission final report? Kojum, it didn't fit with the story we wanted to tell. That's a direct quote. Weldon, as well as myself, are floored by this. Now, this is quite a revelation. And really tells you a lot about what direction 9/11 was going, what direction the Pentagon was going, what direction SOCOM lawyers were going, the pressure coming from outside agencies, all on Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer because he told the truth. So there would be a Senate Select Committee headed by Chairman Arlen Specter in September 21st of 2005, in which they talked about the Able Danger program, in which Eric Kleinsmith testified, Mark Zaid, who's the lawyer for Anthony Shaffer, because remember, he's not allowed to testify, he's under suspension. He testified on behalf. And the Defense Department got William Dugan, who's the assistant to Defense Secretary for Intelligence Oversight, to testify on their behalf regarding the Able Danger program. And I'm going to quote you what he said to Arlen Specter. Specter, thank you, Senator Sessions, Mr. Dugan. Mohammed Atta was not a U.S. person, was he? Dugan. Based on what I have read in the press since September 11, 2001, I don't believe he was. He wasn't a permanent resident alien. He wasn't a U.S. citizen. He wasn't in any of the other categories. He wasn't in the country lawfully. For instance, a student visa or a tourist visa, that is not the same thing as a permanent resident alien. Specter, Mr. Dugan, you are the acting Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence Oversight. Can't you give us a more definitive answer to a very direct and fundamental simple question like, was Mohammed Atta a U.S. person? Dugan, no, he wasn't. So in other words, the information that Able Danger program collected should not have been destroyed based upon the testimony of William Dugan. So the question is, why did they destroy the information?